The internet did not expect this story to take such a messy turn, but now it has, and suddenly everyone is watching the same situation through a completely different lens. What started as quiet whispers around Claressa Shields and her relationship with Papoose has exploded into a storm of speculation, betrayal, and questions nobody seems able to answer. Because while fans were still trying to understand the tension between Papoose and his wife Remy Ma, a new rumor entered the conversation that immediately sent social media into detective mode. Reports began circulating that Claressa might be expecting a baby, and suddenly people started looking at every interview, every training clip, and every recent appearance with a completely different level of scrutiny. At first, many people dismissed the story as another exaggerated internet rumor. After all, celebrity gossip spreads fast online, and not every whisper turns into reality. But then insiders who allegedly attended Claressa's recent training sessions started sharing something that made the situation even more dramatic.
What's the next thing? What's the plan for 2026?
I'm having a baby.
According to those reports, there were quiet conversations behind the scenes suggesting that she might step away from her upcoming fight. And the alleged reason? A growing baby bump that insiders claim is becoming harder to hide. The moment that rumors started spreading, the internet erupted. Because if the undefeated champion was suddenly preparing for motherhood, that would completely change the narrative surrounding her relationship with Papoose. But this is where the situation becomes even more complicated, because not everyone online believes the story is that simple. Within hours of the pregnancy whispers going viral, another rumor began circulating that shocked even longtime followers of the drama.
I put too much time on hold on having a kid and being.
Some people started questioning whether the alleged child would actually be Papoose's. Nobody knows where that speculation started, but once it appeared online, it spread like wildfire. Suddenly comment sections were filled with people arguing, theorizing, and dissecting every small detail of the relationship timeline. Some users insisted the rumors were cruel and baseless, while others claimed that the situation felt far more complicated than it appeared on the surface. And then came the moment that truly sent social media into chaos. In the middle of all this speculation, Remy Ma reportedly dropped a single cryptic line that immediately made the entire internet freeze. She hinted that if people truly knew the full story, they would be shocked to their core. That one sentence ignited thousands of reactions across platforms. Because when the legally married wife of the man at the center of the drama says something like that while the rumored girlfriend is allegedly expecting a child, it does not sound like random shade anymore. It sounds like someone holding on to information that the public has not heard yet. Fans immediately began dissecting that comment. Screenshots spread across timelines within minutes. Some people believed Remy was simply expressing frustration after years of relationship turmoil. Others were convinced the statement carried a deeper meaning, almost like a warning that the truth behind the scenes might be far darker than anyone realizes. One viral comment read, "When the wife starts speaking in riddles like that, you know there is a story nobody is ready to hear." Another user wrote, "This entire situation feels like a reality show plot, except it is happening in real life." What makes the situation even more intense is that Claressa herself had openly talked about wanting a child with Papoose long before these rumors appeared. For over a year she spoke in interviews and online conversations about building a future and possibly starting a family. Those statements did not appear spontaneous or emotional in the moment. They sounded intentional, almost like part of a plan she had carefully thought about over time. Now, with the pregnancy rumors spreading and Remy's mysterious comments floating around the internet, people are beginning to revisit those old clips and interviews with a completely new perspective. And that is exactly why this story refuses to calm down. Every new piece of information seems to raise even more questions. Is there truly a pregnancy behind the scenes? Is Remy hinting at a secret that could change the entire narrative? Or is the internet simply connecting dots that were never meant to be connected in the first place? Right now nobody seems to have the full answer. But one thing is certain, the deeper this story goes, the more it feels like the public has only seen the surface of what might be a much bigger drama unfolding behind closed doors. Last year, Claressa made it very clear that this was not some random fling she was drifting through. She openly talked about wanting to have a baby with Papoose in 2025, which means this was not a sudden thought or some emotional statement made in the heat of the moment. This had already been sitting on her mind for a long time. So when she recently said that she wished she could surprise him with a baby for his birthday, people online did not hear that as some soft, romantic confession.
It's the Quote Fight Week, and of course, Papoose.
No, the internet heard intention. They heard planning. They heard a woman speaking as if the future had already been decided. And the part that really made everybody stop and stare was the way she said it so casually, so confidently, like there was no controversy attached to it at all. She called him my man with her full chest, and in that one phrase alone, social media felt the temperature rise. Because let us be honest, that is where the real tension starts. Papoose is still legally married to Remy Ma. That fact changes the entire mood of the conversation. Suddenly, what might have sounded sweet in another situation starts sounding messy, layered, and painfully public. He and Remy Ma got married in 2016, and yet the divorce still has not been finalized. So when Claressa starts talking about babies, birthdays, and building a future, people are not just hearing love. They are hearing overlap. They are hearing bad timing. They are hearing a woman speaking from a place that many feel is not fully hers yet. And in celebrity drama, timing is everything. One sentence said at the wrong moment can sound less like devotion and more like provocation. Then Remy entered the conversation with that chilling line that sent the internet into detective mode. She said people would cry if they knew the truth. Now that is not the kind of statement people make when they are unsure of themselves. That is not vague heartbreak talk. That sounds like somebody holding on to something explosive, something painful, something they believe would completely shift the public's understanding of the story. And once that line hit social media, the reactions started flooding in. Some people said she sounded deeply wounded. Others said she sounded like a woman who had been silent for too long and was finally letting the pressure crack through the surface. Either way, one thing became impossible to ignore: this was no longer just shade. This was turning into something much darker, more personal, and far more complicated than fans originally thought. And Remy did not leave it there. She reportedly told Papoose that every time Claressa says her name or frames things in a way that feels like a personal shot, it reflects back on him too. That detail matters because it shows that in Remy's eyes, this is not just a problem between two women. This is about loyalty, respect, and who is really controlling the narrative. Then came the word that had everybody talking. She called Claressa his come up. That one phrase landed like a slap because everybody knows what that implies. A come up is not love in its purest form. A come up suggests leverage. It suggests access.
Can't nobody tell me I'm gonna make me feel.
One side said Remy was bitter and trying to discredit a new relationship. The other side said maybe she was hinting that Claressa is more invested in what Papoose represents than who he actually is. And then there is Claressa's behavior online, which only made people dig even deeper. Because if somebody is truly secure, if the love is really solid and peaceful behind the scenes, why does it keep needing to be performed in public? Why does it keep sounding like a defense speech every other week? Claressa came out swinging, saying people were mad because he is happy and in love with her. She made it sound like the world simply could not stand seeing their connection thrive. But critics were not buying that at face value. They were saying the constant need to prove it, protect it, and post about it was starting to feel less like confidence and more like competition. Social media can sense when love looks calm, and it can also sense when love looks like a war being fought through captions, comments, and slick little jabs. Then came that moment that had people laughing, cringing, and raising their eyebrows all at the same time. A woman asked Papoose how he likes his eggs.
You want your eggs scrambled hard? I know how he likes his eggs.
And Claressa jumped in with that now viral response about knowing exactly how he likes them. On the surface, maybe it sounded playful. Maybe it sounded harmless. But the internet did not take it that way. Oh no. They saw territory being marked in real time. They saw a woman planting her flag and making it crystal clear that she knows the private details, the intimate routines, the little things that only a woman close to a man would know. And once you start publicly claiming breakfast details, people stop seeing it as flirting and start seeing it as strategy. That was not just about eggs. That was about possession. That was about sending a message without directly saying the words, "He is mine, I know him," and "Everybody else needs to fall back." That is why this story has people so locked in right now. It is not just about romance. It is not just about a messy triangle. It is about public claims, legal ties, wounded pride, and the dangerous gap between what is being shown online and what might actually be happening behind closed doors. One woman is speaking like the future is already hers. Another is hinting that the truth would break people if it ever came out. And in the middle of it all is a man whose silence is only making the situation feel even louder. Because when everybody around you is talking, posting, hinting, defending, and throwing coded messages into the internet, silence does not look peaceful. Silence starts to look suspicious. And maybe that is the real reason this whole situation feels so explosive. Everybody is saying just enough to keep the fire burning, but not enough to put it out. So now the audience is doing what the internet always does best. They are piecing together timelines, reading between captions, replaying interviews, and asking the same question over and over again: what is really going on here? Because at this point, this does not feel like ordinary celebrity drama anymore. It feels like a story where every new post opens another door, every new quote creates another crack, and every new reaction pulls us closer to a truth that none of them seem fully ready to say out loud. But the story becomes far more complicated the deeper people look into it. Because if Claressa truly feels secure in this relationship, then why does Remy still seem to hold so much silent power over the entire situation? Every time Claressa begins talking about babies and the future she imagines with Papoose, Remy does not explode publicly or beg for attention. Instead, she moves quietly and confidently. And that confidence has people watching every small detail like detectives. At one point, Claressa proudly showed off a Van Cleef bracelet that Papoose reportedly gifted to her. Fans immediately celebrated the moment online, seeing it as a public symbol of love and commitment. But almost immediately after that moment went viral, Remy posted photos of herself wearing multiple layers of Van Cleef bracelets stacked across her wrist. Social media instantly caught the message. This was not random jewelry. This looked like a silent challenge. One bracelet versus a whole collection. And people online began saying the same thing in the comments: this is not just fashion, this is competition. While Claressa speaks loudly about building a family and having children, Remy appears to be playing an entirely different game.